Welcome learners to our channel. In the previous video, we discussed Integrated Science Grade 9 Paper 1, where we saw it has two sections A and B. So in this video, we are going to discuss Integrated Science Paper 2, which is purely practical. So in this paper, we expect to do real practicals using real chemicals. Like you can see on the right side of my screen, there are some apparatus there and there are some chemical processes and practicals taking place. That's exactly what we are going to do in this video. So in this paper, it has two questions. Question 1, which will deal with acids, bases, and indicators and how their colors change in different test solutions. And we will also handle question 2, which will contain the measurement skills, where you will use a meter rule, a vernier calipers, and a micrometer screw gauge to do measurement of different dimensions. And then after that, we will see how to observe in a practical, how to collect data, how to analyze data, and many other things. So also in this video, you expect to interact with different apparatus. Like you can see on this right side of my screen, already you can see a beaker. This is a beaker. And then inside here, you can see a solution. This is a solution. And then, of course, you can see a litmus, either a litmus paper, or you can call it a universal indicator paper. And then you can see a pH chart key. So in this video, we will interact with almost all the apparatus that we have been studying, and also how to use them in performing a practical. So let's read question 1. Question 1 reads, you are required to use the solutions A, B, C, D, and E provided as a test solution. You will also use solution X as an indicator to determine whether the test solutions are acidic, basic, and neutral. So in this case, you will be given solutions A, B, C, D, and E, which you don't know their names. And then in this case, they are called test solutions. Then in this case, you are also given solution X, which is an indicator, and you are not told which type of indicator is this, to determine whether these test solutions A, B, C, D, and E, whether they are acidic, basic, or neutral. Then now, this is what you are expected to do. You are guided on what to do. A, you are told add about 2 cubic centimeter of solution X. Of course, solution X, you have been told, is an indicator, to about 5 cubic centimeter of lemon juice. So in this case, you are given the name of the substance. So in this case, you will be given a lemon juice, and then which is 5 centimeters cubed. You add it to 2 centimeters cubed of an indicator X. Then in this case, you are told the lemon juice is acidic, and record the observed color change. So in this case, you are expected, after adding 2 cubic centimeter of solution X, which is an indicator, to 5 cubic centimeter to lemon juice, you are expected to observe the color change as the characteristic color change of the indicator in the acidic solution. So in this case, you are expected, like in this case, the table you see down here, you will add the indicator to this lemon juice, and then you will write the observation. Now, in this video, we will make observation in 2 ways. One, we will make observation on the pH scale. Is it pH 1, pH 2, pH 3, and so on? Then after that, we will also make observation on color change, and then compare it with the pH chart. And then finally, we will conclude. We will conclude either it's acidic, it's basic, or it's neutral. So that's what we are going to do in this video. So another thing that you are given, you add 2 cubic centimeter of solution X to about 5 centimeters cubed of wood ash solution, and record the color change as the characteristic color change of the indicator in basic solution. So in this case, you are told this wood ash is basic. It is basic. So you are expected to tell us what happens, or what is the pH. In this case, we will indicate the pH. Like in the acidic, we can indicate pH 2, because we know acids have a pH of below 7. Then in this color change for lemon juice, it will be red, and then it will be acidic. This is what we will be expected to do. Then for wood ash, which is basic, bases have a pH of more than 7. Then in this case, the pH, let's say if it's wood ash, it has a pH of between 10 to 13, so we can say 11. Then the color change, in this case, it will be blue in the universal indicator, and then the conclusion will be the solution is basic. So this is basically what we are expected to do. And then C, now you will use this indicator and then the test solutions from A to E. So just like another lab, it's very important for us to know the setup of our apparatus, where the chemicals are, where the apparatus are, so that we avoid accidents and injuries. So in this case, we're going to begin with the upper side, where we have a chart with very many colors. This is what we call a pH chart. A pH chart is used together with a universal indicator, where you will dip a universal indicator inside a solution and then compare the color produced with the color in the pH chart. If the color tallies, then that substance has that pH value. Then from that you can determine whether it is acidic or basic. So in this case, for a pH chart, it has numbers ranging from 1 to 14, where numbers 1, 2, and 3 represent strong acids. So 1, 2, and 3, these are strong acids. Then 4, 5, and 6, these are weak acids. Then 7 is neutral. Then 8, 9, and 10, this one are weak bases. 8, 9, and 10, we call them weak bases. Then 12, 11, 12, 13, and 14 are strong bases. So apart from that, we have another important feature here, which we call a chemical store. On the upper right here, this is where we have a chemical store. This is where we store all the chemicals that we have. This is where we have soap. This is where we have soda. This is where we have solution A, B, C, D, and E. So if we need a solution, we will go to that chemical store and get it from there. Another important feature we have here is a pH detector. This is a substance or an apparatus which we are going to dip inside a solution. Then it's going to detect the pH value of that solution. Then we are going to record it. Then here we have a dropper. This is an apparatus which is going to deliver the chemicals into this beaker. So down here we have a beaker. This is an apparatus which is going to hold the solutions that we are going to test. Either they are acidic, or they are basic, or they are neutral. Then here, of course, we have a water tap. This water tap contains distilled water, which we are going to clean this beaker with so as to avoid contamination. So apart from that, we also have other apparatus which we are going to see later, like a universal indicator and many other. Then on this left side of the lab, we have the substances which we want to determine their pH value and their either acidic, basic, or neutral. So we have soda, we have soap, then we have solution A. Solution A in this case, its real name is battery. This one we are going to use a battery acid. Then solution B, we are going to use human blood. We want to know human blood, is it acidic or basic? Then we also have solution C, which is drain. These are drain cleaner. Then we have solution D, which is coffee, the coffee that you take every morning. And then, of course, finally, solution E, we have, in this case, we have water. In this case, D is water. Then the E is what we have, coffee. This is where we have coffee. So this is where we have coffee. as solution E. So in this case, what we are expected to do is that we use these apparatus and chemicals to determine whether these solutions are acidic, basic, or neutral. So in our case, we are going to make two observations. One, we are going to make the observation on the pH value. pH value. Then another observation we are going to make is the color change. Then finally we will conclude either it's acidic or basic or neutral. So we can begin our experiment with the first solution. In this case, our first solution is soda. And in this case, we place soda inside our beaker. Then in this case, what we will do next is to dip a pH detector inside. And then this pH detector is going to tell us the pH value of the substance. Like in this case, the pH value is 2.5. The pH value, it has indicated 2.5. Then now in this case, we will record at the pH value section. Then now we will introduce a universal indicator. This universal indicator, when we dip it, then we compare it with the pH chart. Like in this case, if you dip a universal indicator, it will indicate orange, red-orange color. So in this case, the color change is red-orange color. Then in that case, we will conclude this is acidic. Then the second one is hand soap. So in this case, we're going to dip a pH detector inside this soap, then record the pH value. And in this case, the pH value is 10. Our pH value is 10. Then now we will also introduce a universal indicator paper and then record the observation. In this case, the color is green. The color is green. Therefore, in this case, it's basic. Then the third one, we are going to introduce battery acid. Then we dip the pH detector. In this case, the pH detector reads 1.0. Then now when we dip a universal indicator paper, the color becomes, if we dip a universal indicator paper, the color becomes, in this case, we can call it deep red. And then the conclusion is that it is acidic. Then next, now we will add blood, human blood, you can see. Then we introduce a pH detector. In this case, the pH detector will read 7.4. And then when we introduce a universal indicator paper, the color in that case is green. The color is green. Then conclusion, this one is basic because the pH is above 7. Then now in this case, we will also introduce a drain cleaner. Drain cleaner, if we introduce a pH detector, it will record a pH value of, in this case for drain cleaner, the pH value is 13.0. Then if we introduce a universal indicator paper, the color will be deep blue. So this color is going to be deep blue. Let's see. Let's wait and see the color. In this case, if we dip that, it's going to be deep blue. Therefore, in this case, this substance is basic. Then we can now introduce water and then see what happens. What if we introduce water If we introduce water, like you can see from our chemical store, and we dip the pH detector, the color is going to be, the pH is going to be 7.0. Then if we introduce a universal indicator paper, the color is going to be green. Then in this case, we conclude this one is neutral. This substance is neutral because the pH is 7. Remember, color green is shared. Then in this case, we can now introduce coffee. If we introduce coffee, in this case, the pH detector will read the pH detector will read 5.0. Then if we introduce a universal indicator paper, the color of the universal indicator paper is going to be yellow. In this case, it's yellow. Then in this case, we can conclude the substance is acidic. The substance is acidic, but of course, in this case, it's a weak acid. So now let's handle related questions to that practical. The question reads, name one solution that could be used in place of a solution that we could have used in place of soda. Remember soda, we found out that it's acidic with a pH value of 2.5. So which other substance can you use if you don't have soda? In this case, we can use a substance like lemon juice. We can even use orange juice. We can even use vomit and many other things, chicken soup, many other things that we can use in place of that. Then Roman 2, a substance that you can use in place of soap. Remember soap, we found that it has a pH value of 10. So a substance that has a pH value of 10, it means it's basic. In this case, if you don't have soap, you can use wood ash solution. You can also use a substance like a toothpaste. You can use a substance like sodium hydroxide and many other substances. So another question, name 3 basic scientific skills that are necessary to carry out this practical. When we did that practical, what skills do we need for us to do all those experiments that we have done? The first one is manipulative skills. Manipulative skills and abilities. This is where you can be able to handle apparatus. You should be able to handle a delivery tube. You should be able to handle that dropper. You should be able to handle a beaker and many other things, indicators. So that's what we call manipulative skills. Another skill that we needed, remember you were seeing color changes. So in that case, you need observation skills. You needed observation skill for you to see color change and even to compare with the indicators. Therefore, in that case, you also needed what we call analysis skills. So we can have as many skills as possible. Another question, state 2 safety precautions you should take or you took during this practical. Safety precautions that you took. I told you it's very important for us to know where all the chemicals are placed. So in this case, one of the precaution is that because we are dealing with acids and bases, and we said most acids and bases, especially strong one, they are corrosive. Then in this case now, wear gloves when handling acids. Very important because acids can corrode your skin. Another precaution that you must take is that handle apparatus with care. Handle apparatus with care. Another precaution that you must take is that consult your teacher on things you don't understand for clarification. In short, you can say seek clarification, and many other precautions that you must take in this experiment. Another interesting question here is that name 3 laboratory instruments necessary for this practical. When I introduced that practical, I told you to look at the apparatus that we had. One of the apparatus that we had is a dropper, the one that we will use, or we used to drop chemicals into the beaker. And in this this screen here, you can see a dropper here. This is a dropper. A dropper is used to deliver chemicals. Another apparatus that you saw there in that experiment, you saw an apparatus called a beaker. You saw a beaker. So in this case, you can see a beaker here. Then other apparatus that you could not see because we had series of experiments, we could have what we call a test tube. So in this case, the second one is a beaker. Then the third one is test tube. We can have a test tube. So we have test tubes, which will hold the chemicals of solution A, B, C, D, and E. And of course, we should have a test tube rack. Test tube rack is this apparatus which holds test tubes. So we can have as many apparatus as possible, but for this case, we can have a dropper, beaker, test tube, and test tube rack. So question 2 reads, you are provided with the following: a ruler, a wooden block. You are required to measure the dimensions of the wooden block. So in this case, we have our wooden block. And then of course, down here, I've splitted it and I've placed a meter rule on the edges or on the sides of length, width, and then the height. Like in this case, the first diagram here, let's call it 1. This is where we will measure the width. Then the second diagram here, call it 2. This is where we are going to measure the length. And then the third one, this is where we're going to measure the height. So in this case, before you make any measurement, there are 2 things that you need to know. The SI unit of the dimension or of the quantity that you are supposed to measure. In this case, we are measuring length. SI unit is meter. Another thing, the instrument that you are using and its accuracy. In this case, we are using a meter rule, and the accuracy of a meter rule is 0.1 centimeter, which is the same as 1 millimeter. Therefore, in this case, if we are required to measure the length, width, and the height, and we record in centimeter, then it must have the same number of decimal points as that one of the accuracy. We have called this one an accuracy. Accuracy is the smallest division that you can read from a measuring instrument. In this case, we can read the smallest division we can read is 1 millimeter, which if we convert to centimeter, it will be 0.1 centimeter. Therefore, in this case, the accuracy, which is 0.1 centimeter, if you are recording in centimeter, even if you get a value as 20 without 0.1, then it should be accompanied by 1 decimal point before you include the centimeter part. Therefore, in this case now, I want us to do the reading. So the first diagram here, which we are going to measure the width, I want us to read it. So in this case, we will read the first point is this one where I've marked green. The second point is this one here where I've also marked green. So in this case, we are expected to determine this dimension, this distance from here to this point. Here we have 8 centimeter, and then here we have 6 and 8. So if you subtract the 2, you are going to get 2 centimeter. Therefore, here you record 2.0 centimeter. Why do we include 0? Because the accuracy of a meter rule in centimeter is 1 decimal point, or it's to 1 decimal place. Then let's measure the length. The length here starts from 0 here at this point and ends at 9. Therefore, in this case, the length of this wooden block is 9.0 centimeter. If you don't include 0.0, that is the accuracy of the instrument, you will score 0. Reading is easy, but recording is what is important. Remember, recording of data is one of the scientific methods of learning. Let's go to the third diagram here, where we are measuring the height. This height begins here at 0, and then we stop here at this point. So the point up here is 2, 2.1, 2.2. So in this case, the height is 2.2 centimeter. Because now this one has a point and it is to 1 decimal point, then that one we don't include a 0, we just place 2.2. So the dimension of this wooden block is that the length is 9.0 centimeter, the width is 2.0 centimeter, then the height is 2.2 centimeter. So since we have obtained the dimensions of this wooden block, that is length is 9.0 centimeter, the width is 2.0 centimeter, and then the height is 2.2 centimeter, then now we can handle the questions related to this experiment. Question D1 states, state the type of physical quantity represented by length. So in this case, we have two types of physical quantities. Two types of physical quantities. The first one is what we call basic quantities. Then the second one we have is called derived quantities. So basic quantities are quantities which cannot be obtained from other quantities. These are quantities which you cannot obtain from other quantities. So the only way you can obtain them is through making a measurement. Derived quantities are quantities. These are quantities which are obtained from other quantities by division or multiplication. Example in this case we have is density, which is mass per unit volume. So in this case you divide mass, which is a basic quantity, with volume, which is a derived quantity. Example of basic quantity in this case we have is length. We also have mass. We also have current, electricity. We have amount of substance. We have temperature, which is measured in Kelvin. So in this case, the type of physical quantity is a basic quantity. This is a basic quantity. Length is an example or is a type of a basic quantity. Give a reason for your answer in one above. In this case, you could say it cannot be obtained from other quantities. Or you can even say it is only obtained by using a measuring instrument. So in this case, basic quantities, the only way you can obtain them is by using a measuring instrument. Like if you want time, you have to use a watch or a stopwatch. If you want length, you have to use a measuring instrument like a ruler or even a tape measure. If you need temperature, you have to use a thermometer. You cannot calculate it. Then another question, determine the volume of the wooden block in cubic centimeter. Determine the volume of the wooden block in cubic centimeter. In this case, since we have our wooden block up there, then volume over cube is equals to length times width times height. Length times width times height, which is in this case, we can say volume is equals to length is 9.0 centimeter times width, which is 2.0 centimeter, times height, which is 2.2 centimeter. Therefore, in this case, our volume is equals to, we have said 9 times 2 times 2.2. We are going to obtain 39.6 cubic centimeter. So that is our volume. Then the last question, in this case, express the volume of the wooden block in SI unit. Remember, the SI unit of volume is cubic meter, which is written as meter cubed. Therefore, in this case, we have to convert this volume in centimeter cubed, that is 39.6 centimeter cubed. We convert it to meter cubed. In this case, what do? We write the relationship 1 cubic meter is equals to 1 million cubic centimeter. Therefore, in this case, for us to get the 39.6 cubic centimeter, then we have to do a cross multiplication. Therefore, in this case, we will have 1 cubic meter times 39.6 cubic centimeter divided by 1 million cubic centimeter. Therefore, in this case, this centimeter will go with this one, and then we will remain with the units as meters cubed. Then now we will have that 9.6 meters cubed divided by 1 million. Then we will have our volume in SI unit as 0.0000396 cubic meter. So in that case, you could have solved this paper as a whole, and then you score all your 30 marks. Boom! Let's meet in the next lesson as we discuss paper 1 and paper 2 of another exam.